Hello James, it's Tuesday. So I'm really sorry to hear about your technical difficulties for several reasons. Admittedly, some of them are selfish, like it's really hard to make a response to a video when that video is not really there. But seriously, I hope you get it figured out. Now, before I move on, however, there were a few things that crossed my mind when I saw that your video had no sound. For instance, I got the idea that we all, as somewhat of a joke, make videos without sound, but that would likely just annoy people who are watching these and probably just ruin our viewership. Also, if it didn't take so much time and effort, neither of which I can really afford, I was thinking it could be funny for me to try to make out what you were saying and repost the video with my voiceover. But obviously I'm not following through with those, and instead I'm just going to respond to your summary of your video that you posted. The problem is, without having actually seen the video, it's kind of hard to tell how in context these points were, so I'm just going to go through, and I'm sorry if they sound disjointed. First thing you mentioned was how you were a stereotypical theater kid, and how that more or less by definition makes you a masochist. And I can't really say anything to the theater thing other than I commend you for doing it, because I know how much of a time commitment it is. I have several friends who do it, and it's crazy. It is interesting, though, how you can characterize just about anything that's a time commitment as a masochistic tendency, though I really don't believe that's usually the case. I'm gonna make the assumption that you like doing theater, so I'm gonna go ahead and say that you're not a masochist. Because unless you actually hate doing theater, I would argue that that pain you were talking about is not so much pain, but sacrifice. Because while I've never really truly been involved in my school's theater program, I do somewhat understand what kind of commitment that is because of the hockey that I've played for oh so long. Especially when I got to high school and I was playing on 2 teams at the same time, I was on the ice like 8 times a week, and that's a lot to keep up with. And while things like my academics and my social life certainly suffered, I never really considered it to be a loss because my main concern was bettering myself as a player and enjoying the sport that I loved. And sure, sometimes I didn't particularly want to go to that second practice in a day, but I never really complained about it because it was what I signed up for. And this isn't really directed at you because I don't really know what you said exactly, but it bothers me to no end when people just bitch and moan about the practices for sports they signed up for. I mean, why sign up for them if you don't like them? I can only assume people do it for gym credits, but that's not a very good reason to do something you don't like. Whatever, moving on. The next thing you said was that you're not very masculine and that you're a sensitive person. Now, I find that to be an interesting statement because I don't really consider masculinity and sensitivity to be related characteristics, let alone antagonistic ones. I think that's probably because of my view of myself, though, because I consider myself to be a pretty masculine person. I mean, come on. Seriously. But I am also pretty sensitive. And I think that basically every guy has their sensitive side. I mean, I have seen a lot of my friends cry, and I don't think any less of any of them for it. Granted, I still feel conscious about crying because I do feel like others will think less of me, so I imagine that's kind of where you're coming from. And if you guys don't mind me making blatant overgeneralizations, I don't feel that masculinity excludes sensitivity, but I feel that guys are afraid that it does, and that is why you don't see the two characteristics in tandem very often. But maybe that's just me psychoanalyzing where I shouldn't, and yes, I'm spelling that with an S, just for you, Katie. And since I guess I did bring it up myself, I probably should tell you about the licensing here. It's really light compared to other places, I feel like. Once you turn 16, you can go in and take it's not even a test, it's like a quiz. It's only 10 questions, and that gives you your permit, and that lets you drive with a parent in the car. 6 months later, provided you have all the documentation and the logged hours and the driving lessons, you can go in and take a really simple driving test and you get your junior license. And the only stipulation of that is that you can't drive after 11 p.m. Then 1 year later, or once you're 18, whichever comes first, you can go in and get your unrestricted license. Anyways though, Jeff, I'm looking forward to seeing your video tomorrow, so yeah, see you then.